Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited to be sharing with you some things. Let's get our glasses on first. Got my blue blockers on, and today I'm going to be answering your questions. The reason I want to come live is because, I actually did this sort of Q&A on Facebook, and I realized, why don't I do it on YouTube as well? And because there's a heaps of questions that I want to answer for you guys, I also want to break my silence on something. You might have heard me talk about on my channel. If you've been following me, I talk about relationships, I talk about wellness, I talk about nutrition. And one thing I haven't really been super open about, is my own personal diet and my own personal views on diet. I've sort of shied away from talking about this because I have seen creator after creator after creator not being able to get the views that they need to be able to spread their message. Unfortunately, they either get taken down, they get demonetized, they face a lot of issues if they are present on social media. And I didn't want to be like them. And this is really vulnerable for me to admit, but I didn't want to be getting shadow banned. I wanted to grow my audience. I am showing up online and I want to build a community, and that's what I want. And it didn't seem conducive to building a community by talking about things that can be so divisive sometimes. And so the reason, sorry, there's a moderation request. Okay. Great. So, yeah, let's go into some of the questions I'm going to be answering today. And you might have guessed maybe what some of these topics might be based on the hashtags. Let's actually play a game, okay? I'm going to give you some hashtags and you tell me like what topics I'm going to be talking about. Number 1 is biohacking. Then we have wellness tips, mitochondrial health, zero sugar added, and no carb life. These are the hashtags on this video that I've put up because these are the sort of kind of questions I'm going to be answering today. Obviously, if you want some previous questions that I haven't answered specifically in relation to nutrition, you're going to have to check out my Facebook Live. And for that, the link is going to be in my YouTube description. So if you want to check that out, please do. And if you want to know about some of my own diet and some of my own views on on my diet, what they are, and yeah, actually, you know what? I'll answer one question from the previous live that I did on Facebook, just to give you an idea of how, what kind of topics and that. So one of the questions that was asked is, do we actually need carbohydrates to survive? And my answer to that question, do we need carbohydrates to survive, is no. No, we don't need carbohydrates to survive. We need glucose to survive, and glucose is produced by our liver already. There's many different ways to make glucose, actually. You can make it from fat, but generally you make it from protein through a process called gluconeogenesis. Is glucose, new genesis is the creation. Gluconeogenesis, that is what produces our glucose that we need in our blood. And what you'll find is people who don't consume carbohydrates still have glucose in their blood. And also, by the way, sometimes they have even better levels of glucose in their blood before they stopped consuming carbohydrates, especially if they were having issues, which you would, because what happens when you consume carbohydrates? When you consume carbohydrates, your glucose in your blood goes up. And so your body has to do something with that. But when we don't consume carbohydrates, our liver continues to maintain, like it has already been maintaining, stable blood sugar levels. Your organs already maintain your blood sugar levels. We don't need carbohydrates to survive. Next question. Why does blood sugar stability matter more than calorie counting? Now, this is my beef with people who are calorie counting. I used to be someone who counted calories obsessively. So I'll tell you a little bit about my background. Personally, in my own personal diet, my dietary history, it involves restricting, a lot of restricting. And that's why I'm able to make a video called Types of Restrictive Diets, by the way. If you want to check that out, that is on my YouTube channel. It's called Types of Restrictive Diets. There's macronutrient restrictive diet, there's time restricted diet, there's calorie restricted diet. So calorie restricted, people who are counting calories. Why is that less important than was it managing your blood sugar? Having a stable blood sugar. Why is that more important than counting calories? Well, simply put, all calories are not equal. All calories are not equal. It's not that we have a calorie deficiency that we have to fulfill by eating calories, because nobody can consume a calorie, because calorie is a unit of heat energy. But that's another topic for a different day. We won't go into that one. Unless you ask me to. then you might get more than you asked for. So the blood sugar stability, it matters. And it's more important. It matters more than counting your calories. All calories are not equal. Protein calorie is not the same as a carbohydrate calorie, which is not the same as a fat calorie. And it's more about your dietary distribution that matters more than how many calories you're getting. And this is where blood sugar stability comes in. Blood sugar stability is dependent on where those calories are coming from. That's more important. That is what, it's not about the quantity of calories that you want to monitor. It's about the quality of these calories. And how do you manage the quality of these calories? Is by focusing on your blood sugar stability. That is what is more important, because what that affecting is your metabolic health. Your metabolic health is everything. Your metabolic health is going to dictate how much cell growth you're having. Your metabolic health is going to dictate, in conjunction with other stuff, how your detox pathways are going to be clearing out waste from your system, how efficient they are. Your metabolic health determines those things. The speed at which you process your foods, whether you absorb whether your body just stores them or makes them available to you, because trust me, those are two different modes. And I'm learning right now that I've been in conservation mode for a very long time. And it's been a humbling experience. So any of you out there who are also stuck in conservation mode, I feel you. And trust me, you might not even know that you might be stuck in that. I've been stuck in that for as long as I can remember, apparently, but more so in the last couple of years. And so this is why metabolic health is so important. So you have to look at your blood sugar stability. You don't want to look at the quantity of your calories. You want to look at the quality of your calories. And you want to look at the percentage of the macronutrients that you're getting from those calories. Remember, protein calorie is not the same as a carbohydrate calorie, which is not the same as a fat calorie. You don't have a calorie limit. It's about the percentage, because if you're off all your calorie, if you get two people and they're both meeting their calories, one of them is getting it um, all from carbohydrates, no fat, no protein, and the other one is getting it from, let's say, 70%, about by grams, let's say 50% protein, 50% fat. This person is going to have blood sugar instability. This person is not going to have blood sugar instability. That is the difference that monitoring your calorie quality makes. Because your blood sugar stability is extremely important. Your blood sugar stability is what's going to determine your metabolic health. It's what's going to determine, are you going to have inflammation on your body? Or is your body able to go through the inflammatory process, which, by the way, inflammation is not a blanket negative term or a negative thing. There is inflammation that is healthy and needed and necessary and required in the wound healing process. It is the chronic sustained inflammation, systemic inflammation. That is what is dangerous. We need to stop taking painkillers at the very moment that we get a bit of a headache, because our body needs to go through that whole process of inflammation coming up and coming down. Anyway, that's a rant for another video, but I guess I just did it within this one. You're welcome. You asked, I delivered. This is a bit of an interesting question. Is insulin resistance a cause or a consequence of modern diets? Bit of a weird question, but I mean, how could insulin resistance be a cause to the modern diet? Insulin resistance is not causing the diet. The diet is causing the insulin resistance. A stupid question. I won't lie. I do use AI sometimes in my content. Most of the time I'm using it for research purposes. And so I thought it would be really fun to come up with, I basically asked it, you know everything about me, or anything that you know about me, come up with like some questions that I can answer. And so this is one of the questions that it came up with. Okay, some of it's really funny. Yeah, so the diet is not causing the insulin resistance is not causing the diet. The diet is what's causing the insulin resistance. How is the diet causing the insulin resistance? Well, because you have chronically elevated insulin levels. Why chronically elevated insulin levels? Because it has to be stimulated every single time you consume sugar. And by sugar, I don't mean just table sugar. I mean a watermelon is sugar, which is honey is sugar, a fruit is sugar, a cookie is sugar. It's all sugar. When it comes into your body, they're all sugar. They're all going to spike your insulin regardless. And so these are the reason why you have chronically elevated insulin levels. And these chronically elevated insulin levels are causing insulin resistance, which really is a misnomer. What it describes is that your body goes into protection mode because it knows that high insulin is damaging. And too much insulin, it won't accept. So it stops accepting. And this is the state at which we call insulin resistance. The receptors, the binding site, the whole entire mechanism doesn't work like it used to. Doesn't work like it used to. Your receptors are not working like they used to. Yeah, so your diet's causing insulin resistance. Stop eating shit food. Stop eating carbohydrates, which are unnecessary in the diet, and you won't chronically elevate your insulin. So you won't have an insulin resistance problem. And by the way, what's another name for insulin resistance? Diabetes. Next question. Whoa, this is interesting. Why do healthy whole grains spike glucose in some people? Now, this is a very interesting question. The most interesting part about this question is when it says most people. And this is why I put it in quotation marks. It's not most people, it's everyone. And the healthy thing that you're talking about, who is claiming that they're healthy exactly? Who is making this claim that whole grains are healthy? Let me actually share with you the dietary guidelines that just came up by the US. And I want you to guess where they put the healthy whole grains. And I will show you the pyramid. And then I'll ask you. I forgot I actually posted that. So let's share my screen, shall we? Now, you guys can see that? Exactly. There's the whole grains. So healthy. They're so healthy, guys. These whole grains are so healthy. They're so healthy that they're in the lowest point of the pyramid. And by the way, guys, this is the first time that I would actually say that I agree with any official guidelines that have been given by the government. Unfortunately, Australian dietary guidelines are completely backwards. Actually compare this with the Australian dietary guidelines. Okay, so we have the American guidelines. And so Australian dietary guidelines are great because instead of using a pyramid, they used a plate. And they called it Guide to Healthy Eating. I need the big picture of this. Great. This is what I'll do actually. I'll actually make collage of this. So I can share it with you. Now, let me share with you my screen. Application. Here we go. Now, these are the Australian. And let me just bring out the American ones. This is literally the only time that I will probably agree. With the American dietary guidelines. Because look at what where they place things here in the least amount. Wait, my mouse is here. Okay. The least amount of the thing that you should consume. Somehow they still want you to consume reason though. Australia put it, look at this, grain foods, cereal, mostly whole grain and high. It's almost a third of the plate. Despicable. Absolutely makes me absolutely livid that they want Australians to eat this much whole grains. It boils my blood. Like, it's diabolical, absolutely diabolical that they want a third of your plate to be made of whole grains. You look at these, this amount that you should be having in your diet, and this is almost a third. Great job, Australia. Great job. Good job. Oh, where can we find this, by the way? forhealth.gov.au. By the way, Australians, if you want to eat healthy, make a third of your plate full of grains. Oh no, but if you're an American, that's the least amount of food you should be having. Make it make sense. It doesn't make sense because it's nonsensical. It's completely nonsensical. You should not be having a third of your plate with, what is this? Penny pasta, fettuccine, wheat flakes. Are you kidding me? Muesli, polenta, rolled oats. Peasant food. This is all peasant food. Let's continue to compare. Sorry, I just cannot get over that this is legal. So we have pretty much half of this area filled with proteins. You've got meat, you've got cheese, you've got dairy, you've got yogurt. And by the way, everything is full fat. Fats, as you can see, healthy fats. We like having healthy fats. Almost an entire section, a third of the section is made up of healthy fats. We've got butter over here, full fat dairy. We've got eggs, we've got salmon. Guess how much fat is in here? Salmon and eggs have a lot of healthy fats. Avocado, I would not recommend avocado. I would not recommend olive oil. If you want to get healthy fats, get it from seafood, get it from fish, from salmon, get it from full fat yogurt, which you can make it into kefir, from cheese or roe. I think this is roe. Get it from there. And so that's great. And look at when it comes to fat, where's fat, by the way? Americans are being told to consume healthy fats. And Australians? Where's the fat? You've got dairy option. You've got fruit option. You've got all this vegetable option. You've got lean meat, so definitely no fat in that. Don't have your fatty fish. Well, I mean, where is the salmon there? There's no salmon. There's tuna. You got eggs there. Where's the butter? There's no butter. The hard cheeses or the soft cheeses, it's all in here. You got all different types of cheese. So that's great. They're talking about the milk fats, but when it comes to animal fats like fatty fish, fatty meats, no, they want you to have lean meat. In fact, I am so absolutely just devastated at the state of this that I'm going to make a separate live on Facebook about this. This is absolutely diabolical that this is happening in the way it is. Americans are being told to consume healthy fats, Australians are being told to have lean meats. If you have any of this stuff, only in small amounts. This is olive oil, canola spread, and only sometimes and only in small amounts. Wine, junk food, burger. This, I have beef with this actually, because if you actually have a look at the burger, pretty much a third of it is bread, which is grain. You've got lean meat. You got lean meat in there. You got mince. You got cheese from this section. You got fruit. You've got the cucumber. I mean, you've got the tomato. That's a fruit. There's tomatoes in there. There's tomatoes in there. So you got vegetables. You got lettuce in there. So by its own standards, Australian guidelines would probably consider a burger as a superfood. But what does it actually see sometimes and in small amounts make it make sense? Guess what? It doesn't. And I'm getting so livid that I'm here. And you'll have to let me know what you think.